What is gender roles? Gender roles in society means how we are expected to act, speak, dress, groom, and conduct ourselves based upon our assigned sex. For example, girls and women are generally expected to dress in typically feminine ways and be polite, accommodating, and nurturing. Men are generally expected to be strong, aggressive, and bold. For examples in productive, in rural settings, men typically handle physical labor like farming and construction, while women contribute to agricultural tasks and selling produce in markets. In urban settings, men often work in business and technology sectors, while women generally undervalued, facing disparities in education, healthcare, and being confined to domestic roles. For reproductive, men in rural settings are less involved in household chores, while women are primarily responsible for them. In urban settings, some men participate more in household tasks, but women often face a double burden, balancing paid work with domestic duties. For community roles, men in rural settings often occupy formal leadership roles. This can be attributed to historical and cultural factors where men have traditionally been seen as the primary breadwinners and decision makers. They may hold positions in local government, religious institutions, or community organizations. While women may not hold formal leadership positions, they are often active in informal networks within their communities. For urban settings, men may dominate leadership positions, similar to rural settings. Men may continue to hold a majority of leadership positions in urban communities. This can be due to factors such as existing powers, structures, educational opportunities, and career paths. While women, despite challenges in formal leadership roles, women in urban areas are often involved in community leadership roles, development, and social activism. They may organize neighborhood groups, provide social services, or volunteer in various community initiatives. Now we will discuss daily activities performed by men in rural settings and urban settings. While the specific activities may vary depending on individual circumstances, cultural norms, and socioeconomic factors, here are some common activities performed by men in both rural and urban settings. Paid work. For paid work, we have employment. Men often engage in various forms of employment, including business, construction, and other professions. Now we have housework. Occasional household repairs. Men may occasionally undertake minor repairs around the house, such as fixing, plumbing, or electrical issues. Caregiving. Limited childcare activities. While traditionally, women have been the primary caregivers, men in recent years are increasingly involved in childcare activities, albeit to a lesser extent compared to women. They may include changing diapers, feeding, or playing with children.
So, next is the daily activities performed by women. So, sa paid work, meron tayong formal employment. Andyan yung teaching or nursing. Halos ang makikita natin na ah, nasa job na ito is maraming babae. Next is yung agricultural work like planting, harvesting. Tapos next is domestic labor for income. Ito yung mga labor na makakakuha ka ng income like um, laundry services, ano po, paglalaba, pag-babysit, yung bibigyan tayo ng pera for labor. Next is housework. Ang housework naman is yung ginagawa ng babae kadalasan for everyday is cooking meals for the family, cleaning the house, paglalaba, mga ganun po. Next is caregiving naman. Ah, yan nga pag-aalaga ng bata, pagpapaligo, and tinutulungan sa schoolworks. And community involvement naman is organizing community events. Kadalasan 'pag may event sa isang barangay is madalas na makikita is yung nagde-design is yung mga women. 'Pag sa structure naman ng event is yung mga lalaki naman ang gumagawa nito, and for design naman is kadalasan is babae.
So next is the daily activities performed by children. For paid work naman is yung mga adolescents madalas nag-engage sila sa part-time jobs dahil kailangan din ng pera. For housework naman nandito yung mga tumutulong sa gawaing bahay, pag babysit ng kapatid na bata, and caregiving nandito yung yun nga parang babysitting, assisting with caring for younger siblings, mga mas nakakabatang kapatid. And kasi kapag wala yung magulang sa bahay, madalas yung mas nakakatanda ng kapatid yung aalaga sa mga nakakabatang kapatid. And community involvement, syempre, pagpa-participate natin sa school, yun ang parang isa sa mga kailangan nating gawin bilang kabataan. So, are there tasks that are exclusively performed by one gender, and why do you think this is? So, we have two answers for this, ma'am, and it is reproductive system and labors. So, our answer is yes, merong mga tasks na that can only be performed by one gender. And one example is reproductive system. So, alam naman natin na ang mga lalaki is it can never have the same reproductive systems or organs sa mga babae. So, ang male kasi is the provider, or sila nagpo-provide ng sperm, and while the female is sila yung carrier naman ng fetus sa kanilang uterus, and kaya din nila breastfeed ng mga baby na mga yon is hindi kayang gawin ng mga lalaki. Sa labors naman is women may not be able to handle heavy machineries or labors such as machineries wherein men may be capable to do so. So sa labors is medyo sa physical na mga trabaho is men naman ang mga nag-excel dito. So each gender have their own unique capabilities that another gender may be unable to do. It is why we should treat everyone with respect because each of us have strength and weaknesses on our own. So next is how do these roles affect men's and women's access to resources like time, money, education, and health services. So for men, and the time is the pressure to provide. So ang mga lalaki is kadalasan nakikita na breadwinners or sa family. So which result into long working hours, stress, uh, and dahil dun nawawalan ng oras para sa kanyang sarili at sa family involvement. Next is the financial pressure for men sa money. Um, Tulad nga ng sabi ko kanina is kadalasan na breadwinners ang lalaki. So, malaki ang pressure na nakasalalay dahil lalo na kapag nahihirapan kumuha ng employment, ah, nahihirapan sa sarili, nahihirapan kumuha ng trabaho, malaki po talaga yung pressure sa ganun. Next is the prioritize education for men. Sa education, mas in some cultures kasi is yung mga lalaki is madalas na pina-prioritize yung kanilang education. Um, Dahil mas parang mas nakikita kasi sila ah, dahil sa stereotype na breadwinners sila, and mas malaki yung potential nila grow kaysa sa women. Next is the higher risk behaviors sa health services dahil dito dahil sa traditional na masculinity sa ating paligid is yung mga men mas pinupursu nila yung mga matataas yung risk na pwede kang ma-injury or illness. Ah, so next is the woman naman. So sa time is the double burden of paid and unpaid work. So sa money is limited control over her finances. So in many cultures kasi is halos lalaki yung nagkokontrol ng mga finances or mga managing household sa bahay. It limits the woman's ability to control finances sa kanilang bahay. So next is the education for women. Lower educational attainments. So in many parts of the world kasi is yung mga babae is parang expected sila na dapat prioritize nila ang household chores, caregiving, or pwede rin early marriage. It limits their uh, ability to progress sa school, leading to lower educational attainments. So, sa health services naman ng women is the mental health. So, mas ma-experience ng babae ang stress and pagbaba ng kanilang mental health dahil mas ma-experience nila yung double burden na tinatawag dahil marami silang binabalance. Ah, leading to mas mababang level ng mental wellness. So, kailangan pa natin mag-reflect dito how gender roles impact equality in our community. So, anong roles ang ginagampanan ng lalaki at babae sa ating community? Sino bang laging gumagawa ng household duties? Male or female ba? Sa paglilinis, ganun din po. And may equal access ba sa mga opportunities? Paano nakakaapekto yung gender sa sa opportunities? May parehas ba na tawag dito, opportunities ang mga lalaki at babae? And paano nakaka-impact ito sa kanila? Kung fair ba to or hindi? Ah, sa tingin niyo ah, fair ba ang mga task na binigay sa lalaki at babae sa gender gender roles natin? And so the ways to balance gender roles and promote equality is dapat kailangan natin mag-share ng household duties and sa mga responsibilities natin sa bahay. For example, dapat ang lalaki rin is tumutulong sa pag-alaga ng bata and dapat equal din ang access sa education at jobs. Dapat yung babae is 'wag natin pine-pressure na i-pursue yung mga teaching or nurse, but may freedom sila dun. And sa mga jobs naman is kailangan is bawasan na bigyan natin ng parang way or paraan para maging balance yung mga job na dino-dominate ng lalaki. Next is dapat baguhin natin yung societal norms na kailangan is equal ang lalaki at babae. And kailangan balance ito and may yung mga challenges sa task na ah, dapat sa lalaki at babae lang. So, yun ang dapat kailangan natin baguhin sa ating societal norms. Baguhin natin yung way na ang lalaki is para sa ang lalaking trabaho is para sa mga lalaking trabaho lamang and ang mga babaeng trabaho is para sa mga babae lamang. Dapat kailangan nating baguhin yung gano'ng norms and dapat, equal yung ito yung ating pananaw sa trabaho dapat.
Hello everyone. Today, I'll be talking about gender needs assessment, which is key in understanding the different types of needs people have based on gender. We'll focus on two different concepts: practical gender needs and strategic gender interests. Practical gender needs are the immediate everyday needs that people require to survive. These needs arise from the current conditions of life. Let me give you an example. In many rural areas, women may have walked long distance to fetch water. So, access to clean water becomes a practical need. It directly affects their daily lives and must be solved quickly for their survival. On the other hand, strategic gender interest aims to address the root causes of gender inequality and are about long-term change. These interests look at changing systems and policies that create lasting improvements. For example, advocacy for women's land rights is a strategic interest. If women own land, they gain economic independence and can contribute to their families' financial securities. This type of change goes beyond survival. It's about equal opportunities. So in summary, practical needs are about immediate survival like access to water. Strategic gender interest aims for long-term solutions like land rights. Both are important. Practical needs provide short-term relief, but addressing strategic interests create lasting equality.
We're talking about how addressing both practical and strategic needs can lead to short-term relief and long-term change in gender equality. Practical needs are everyday issues like equal pay, affordable childcare, and access to healthcare. Solving these give quick relief like helping more women stay in workforce and improving financial stability.
Hello, today we're going to classify and cite some examples from gender needs and strategic needs. Leading on from the fact and women and men having different roles based on their gender. They will also have different gender needs. These needs can be classified as either strategic or practical needs. First, gender needs are defined as. First, let's discuss the practical gender needs. They are the needs of women identified in their socially accepted roles in society. Practical gender needs do not challenge, although they rise out of gender division of labor and women's subordinate position in society. Also, they are responsible to immediate and perceived necessity identified within a specific context. They are practical in nature of often concern inadequacies in living conditions such as water provision, healthcare, and employment. With that, the practical gender needs are the human survival needs, and our state has the constitutional obligation in addressing them. On a regular basis, we witness women in the developing countries through collective efforts attaining the practical gender needs. Example of these are the indicators of good housing, safe drinking water, maintenance of hygiene and sanitation, regular employment, childcare facilities, healthcare and insurance coverage for women, availability of nutritional supplement food. On the other hand, strategic gender needs are the needs of women identified because of their subordinate position in society. They vary according to particular contexts related to gender division of labor, power and control, and may include issues such as legal rights, domestic violence, equal wage, and women's control over their bodies. Meeting strategic gender needs assist women to achieve greater equality and change existing roles, thereby challenging women's subordinate position. They are more long-term and less visible than practical gender needs, like land rights, ownership of assets, equality in wage, political equality, sharing of domestic labor and childcare by men, legislation to challenge the abuse of women, entry of women in non-traditional occupational sectors, reproductive rights, control over their bodies, equal status of women, constitutional provision, gender budgeting. That's all. Thank you.
Gender resource mapping. The introduction. This study focuses on gender resource mapping, which looks at how resources in a community are shared and controlled by different genders. Our goal is to help students understand how men, women, and people of other genders access and manage these resources. By learning about this, we can see if there are any differences or gaps, and how these affect people's lives and opportunities. Access. Who can use resources? Access refers to who can use or benefit from resources in a community like land, education, jobs, or healthcare. It's about who is allowed or able to use these resources, and this can differ between genders. For example, in some communities, men may have more access to resources like land for farming, financial support, or job opportunities. Example number 2 is women may face barriers to accessing these same resources due to cultural traditions or lack of legal rights. Third, people of other genders like LGBTQ individuals may also face discrimination or restrictions in accessing resources, limiting their opportunities. Control. Who has power over resources? Control is about who has the authority to make decisions about how resources are used, shared, or managed. It's about who has the power to decide, and this is often tied to positions of power in a community. For example, men are often in decision-making roles, giving them more control over resources like deciding how land is used or who gets loans. Example number 2 is women may have less control even if they are the ones using the resource. For instance, women might work the land but don't have the right to sell it or make big decisions about it. Third is other genders may be excluded entirely from these decisions, making processes, limiting their influence over resources. Another example is land ownership. Access. Men may have easier access to land, meaning they can use it for farming or business. Women and other genders might have limited access due to laws and cultural expectations. Example number 2 is control. In many communities, men hold legal ownership and make decisions about the land, while women may use the land without having the power to decide its future. Another example is the access to education. Access. Boys may have more access to education compared to girls. In some communities, meaning they are more likely to attend school. And control. Men often control the decision-making in education, such as creating policies or deciding on school resources, while women and other genders have less influence. In summary, gender resources mapping helps us see if certain genders have more access and controls over resources than others. By identifying these differences, we can understand the challenges people face and work towards creating equal opportunities for all genders. So as you can see, these are the examples. In resource, we have school, canteen, playground, land, bank, police station, water supply, market, vet clinic, and hospital. The people that can access in school are both men and women. In canteen, as usual, same. Playground, same, both men and women. Land, mostly men. Bank, mostly men. Police station, mostly men. In water supply and market, both men and women can access. In vet clinic, mostly women. And in the hospital, we can see both men and women. The people that control is in school, we have the government or school admin. In canteen, staff or private owner. Playground, government or community. Land, mostly men. Bank managers or executives. In police station, we have police department. Water supply, we have government or utility companies. In market, we have market owners and local government. In vet clinic, we have the veterinarians. And in hospital, we have the government or private management.
Are there any resources for access or control unequal? Based on the table, there are several resources for access or controlling unequal, often favoring one gender. Here is the list of those resources. Number 1, land. Men often have greater access and control due to legal or cultural norms around ownership. Number 2, bank. Men tend to have more access to financial services like loans and control bank operations. Number 3, police station. Access may seem equal, but control typically rests with male-dominated leadership. Number 4, vet clinic. Women may use these services more since vet care is often seen as their responsibility, but veterinarians or clinic managers are often men. These examples show how gender roles and societal norms can create imbalance and who benefits from or control resources. What are the consequences of this inequality? The consequence of unequal access and control over resources can impact both individuals and the community as a whole. Here's how. Number 1, land. Limited access for women prevents them from farming, starting businesses, or inheriting property. Consequence. Increases poverty among women and reduce their financial independence. This can also restrict agricultural productivity. Number 2, bank. Fewer loans for women limit their ability to start businesses or invest in education. Consequence. Slower economic growth and persistent gender wage gaps. Women may remain independent on men for financial support.
Number 2, police station. Male-dominated culture can discourage women from reporting crimes. Consequence. Increased violence and injustice toward women, as their safety needs may not be prioritized. Number 4, vet clinic. Men controlling services in areas where women are primary users can lead to lack of attention to women's needs or preferences. Consequence. Poor quality of services or reduced trust in the system, discouraging women from accessing care for their births. Overall consequence of inequality. Social inequality, gender divides grow wider, reinforcing harmful stereotypes. Economic loss. When women are excluded from resources, the community loses out on their potential contributions. Health and safety risks. Women's limited control over healthcare, finances, or security can increase vulnerables. Limited development. Without equal opportunities, achieving long-term community development becomes harder. Addressing these inequalities would promote fairness, improve well-being, and create stronger, more resilient communities. Reflection on resource inequality. Unequal access to and control over resources between men and women limits opportunities and weakens community. When men dominate areas like land, money, and safety, women face barriers that prevent them from growing and being independent, while the economy loses their potential contributions. For example, when women cannot get loans, they find it hard to start businesses and improve their lives. Also, when police services are most likely controlled by men, women may be less likely to report crimes, making them more vulnerable to violence. equality helps everyone sharing access and decision-making leads to stronger, safer, and more successful communities. It's important to challenge unfair norms and create systems that include everyone for a better future.
So next, we will be discussing the role play, gender equality in decision making. So first is household. So alam naman natin sa traditional na societies is men ang majority na parang decision maker sa loob ng bahay. Dahil nga sila ang tinatawag na primary na breadwinner. And sa traditional na gender roles kasi is woman naman ang mga caregiver sa loob ng bahay. So this leads to an equal distribution of decision-making power, especially sa mga bayarin. For example, in some households, men may make decisions about purchases like sa mga kotse, sa kahit real estate, mga investments, ganun. Dahil sila ang nakikitang head of the household. While women naman is parang nale-lessen yung power nila sa decision making sa loob ng bahay. So next naman is sa workplaces. So sa gender roles ng workplaces is pinapaboran nito or minsan pinapaboran nito yung mga lalaki. Especially sa mga industries na dinodominate ng lalaki yung mga positions. So sa decision making naman in decision making nagkakaroon din ng parang ng unequal treatment sa mga suggestions. And sa mga leadership roles naman halos lalaki rin ang kinukuha. Dino-dominate din ito ng lalaki. So minsan nagkakaroon sila ng decision na sa perspective nila na hindi na nila kailangan ng babae sa kanilang mga employees. Dahil dun nagkakaroon ng unequal treatment so dahil dun pwedeng ma-sideline lamang yung mga babae dahil na-undervalue sila sa mga trabaho. So next is about communities naman. So sa mga cultures naman natin is sa mga leadership roles, sa mga for example sa mga kagawad, SK, yan. Sa mga leadership na mga ganun is majority rin is lalaki rin yung nagdo-dominate dito. And sa mga decision making din sa mga communities is lalaki rin yung parang nagde-decide sa mga to. And some rural communities naman, sila pa rin yung nagko-control sa mga rights. Kahit na yung babae for example, babae yung may responsible sa mga agriculture nito na magaganda. And is lalaki pa rin yung parang nagte-take ng credit na undervalue yung mga babae dahil dun.
Magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Ngayon, tatalakayin natin ang isang bagong inisyatiba upang itaguyod ang kabutihan ng mga mag-aaral at mabawasan ang stress natin.
Nag-brainstorm kami ng ilang option. Ang una ay ang paglikha ng isang student wellness center na may mga lugar para sa mga pagpapahinga, service sa counseling at sa mga workshop tungkol sa pamamahala ng stress.
Sa tingin ko isang magandang ideya iyon. Magbibigay ito ng isang labis na kinakailangang espasyo para sa mga mag-aaral na makapagpahinga at tumingin ng tulong kapag kailangan nila ito.
Sangayon ako. Ngunit, sa tingin ko, mahalaga rin itoon ang pansin sa pag-iwas. Maaari tayong mag-organisa ng higit pang mga extracurricular activities at club upang mabigyan ang mga mag-aaral ng mga outlet para sa kanilang mga interes at hilig.
Ang pagkakaroon ng mga hilig at interes ay maaaring maging isang mahusay na paraan upang maibsan ang stress.
Papatupad na mas maikling araw ng paaralan na mas mahabang ang break. May iwasan nito ang tensyon sa akademya at bibigyan ng mag-aaral na mas maraming oras para sa kanilang sarili.
Isang kawili-wiling ideya. Maaari natin tuklasin ang posibilidad ng pagpapatupad ng mas maikling araw ng paaralan sa ilang klase at tingnan kung paano ito gumagana.
Bago tayo magpasya, dapat natin isaalang-alang ang mga gastos at mapagkukuhanan pa kasanggot sa bawat opsyon.
Maaari tayong bumuo ng isang subcommittee upang magsaliksik ng mga gastos at benepisyo ng bawat opinion.
Magandang idea. Tatalakayin natin ang mga natuklasan sa subcommittee sa ating susunod na pulong.
So regarding po sa roleplay na ginawa namin, we reflected on who has the final say and here are our reasons. So ang setting ng roleplay namin is student council meeting. Nag-uusap-usap sila. So ang may final say sa aming roleplay is the vice president and the president. So sa leadership kasi is parang president or the vice president, parang sila yung pinaka-highest sa leadership roles. So ang may final say talaga when it comes to meetings ganyan is the president or the vice president. Kasi sila yung pinaka-leader dun sa mga leaders. Yan, leader of the leaders. Parang sa kanila magaganap yung confirmations ng mga napag-usapan. Parang sila din yung magte-take action sa mga to. So, how did gender affect the decision-making process? So, sa aming roleplay is meron pong isang babaeng student council. So, sa aming roleplay is kinonsider namin kung ano yung sinasabi ng babae. Nagkaroon kami ng equal treatment sa gender and sa positions. Kahit na mas mababa yung rank ng babae is we still considered her answers. So what changes could be made to ensure more equal participation in decisions? So gaya nga ng ginawa namin is hinayaan namin magsalita ang bawat isa and as leaders sa roleplay namin is na pinakinggan namin ang masasabi ng bawat isa and pinakinggan namin kung ano yung suggestions nila without being biased sa gender kung ano mang gender. And all is well po nagkaroon ng agreement and walang nangyaring bias sa aming sa aming roleplay. So everyone, we need to reflect on ideas na para to ensure na magkaroon ng equal na decision making sa communities, sa households, ganyan. So dapat nagkakaroon tayo ng solusyon sa mga to if nagkakaroon ng unequal na decision making sa isang bahay. If yung father is humahawak sa mga major decisions ng isang pamilya is dapat pag-usapan ito dahil dapat mutual ang agreement both sides. Dapat parehong agree sa mga to. Next is sa community naman, dapat we need to respect the gender or the leadership position kung saan position po yung babae. If mas lower po, that we still need to respect her decisions and her suggestions. So dahil everyone naman pa may different ideas, pwede yung idea ng babae is mas better kaysa sa idea ng isang lalaki. So isipin natin yung mga mangyayari if nagkakaroon ng equal na decision making sa isang household or communities. Siguro is mas mapapaunlad yung isang household or community if nagsasama-sama. Kakaroon ng unity or mga suggestions is kino-consider ng bawat isa without being biased sa gender.
Activity 5, Developing Gender-Responsive Solutions. All of those pictures represent the access and resources. Vet clinic, bank, police station, emergency hospital, schools, canteen, and other access and resources. Resources. School, canteen, playground, land, bank, police station, water supply, market, vet clinic, and hospital. All of those resources have their own access. School, canteen, playground have the same access, both men and women. Land, bank, police station have their own access and the same access too, mostly men. Water supply and market, both men and women. Vet clinic, mostly women or pet owners. Hospital, both men and women. All of those resources and access have their own control. School, government or school admin. Canteen, staff, private owner. Playground, government or community. Land, mostly men, landowners. Bank, bank managers or executives. Police station, police department. Water supply, government or utility companies. Market, market owners or local government. Vet clinic, veterinarians. Hospital, government or private management. Control who has power over resources. First, men are often in decision-making roles, giving them more control over resources, like deciding how land is used or who gets loans. Second, women may have less control even if they are the ones using the resource. For instance, women might work the land but don't have the right to sell it or make big decisions about it. Third, other genders may be excluded entirely from this decision-making process, limiting their influence over resources. Solutions. First, promote legal and policy reforms for equal access. Implement and enforce laws and policies that ensure equal access to land ownership, financial services, and decision-making positions for all genders. This would include granting women and other marginalized genders legal rights to own, inherit, and sell land, as well as access to financial resources like loans. Second, encourage gender-inclusive leadership and decision-making. Establish programs that actively promote gender-inclusive leadership and resource management, such as in agricultural cooperatives, financial institutions, and community planning. These programs can include gender sensitivity training and the creation of quotas and incentives to ensure representation of men and non-binary people in leadership roles. Are the solutions realistic and feasible? Yes. Both solutions are realistic and feasible, though their implementation may vary depending on local context, cultural norms, and political will. How do these solutions promote gender equality? Promote legal and policy reforms for equal access. By formalizing equal rights in legal systems, women and other genders can gain more control over resources. This can empower them to make decisions about land use and financial investments, increasing their economic independence and community participation. Encourage gender-inclusive leadership and decision-making. Including diverse perspectives in decision-making process will ensure that the needs and priorities of all genders are considered. This would enable more equitable resource distribution and utilization, leading to better social and economic outcomes for everyone involved. Summary. Legal and policy reforms implement and enforce laws that guarantee equal access to land ownership, financial resources, and decision-making roles for all genders. Gender-inclusive leadership. Promote programs that encourage diverse representation in leadership and decision-making, ensuring that women and marginalized genders have a say in how resources are managed. Both solutions address the power imbalance by providing legal rights and increasing gender representation in decision-making processes. Thank you for listening. That's all.